Hello friend. Welcome back to Acre Homestead. Today we are heading out into the garden to harvest something I planted back in October. So this is something we have been waiting a long time to harvest. I came in here to grab a harvest basket. We're also going to go out into the main garden and see what else we can harvest. I was gone over the weekend and I haven't gone out into the garden since I've been home because other things took priorities like life, laundry, getting caught back up with just the daily regular things. But today we are going to spend time in the garden together. Let's go. This here is what we're going to be harvesting today, which is our garlic. I've got elephant garlic in this whole section of this bed here. And then I have some Softneck garlic in that whole bed there, and then right here. Today is July 1st. Normally I don't harvest my garlic till mid-July, but this garlic is showing signs that it is ready to be harvested. Part of the reason I think it is showing me the signs that it's ready to be harvested is because we have had, I think, 2 or 3 days of rain in the last month and a half. And so this garlic has not had much water. And this is the first time I am growing garlic not in a raised bed that has irrigation hooked up to it. And so I think it just stressed out this garlic a little bit more than the garlic I've grown in the past. Garlic is usually ready to be harvested when it has 3 shriveled leaves. So here we have 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one is starting to shrivel. And I am seeing that a couple weeks earlier than I normally do. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves that have turned brown. And so it is ready to harvest, even though I don't think that this is going to be the best harvest I've ever gotten out of my garlic, but it has also never been watered other than what the rain has given it. I don't have the highest hopes for this harvest, but garlic is one of those things you never know exactly what it's going to look like until you pull it out of the ground. It looks like I forgot to harvest a couple garlic scapes, so I'm going to take those off. I'm going to start with the elephant garlic because that's what I'm the most excited about. Alright, so this elephant garlic is about half the size of the elephant garlic heads I normally grow. This is what we need to help us harvest our garlic. Now, at the previous homestead, this garlic was a perennial. The previous owner at the previous homestead had planted garlic, the elephant garlic, and let it grow in her landscape and just let it kind of reproduce itself every year. So that's my goal here. But in this first year, I just put the elephant garlic in a bed and I didn't plant any in the landscape because I didn't know what the landscape was going to look like yet. I'm trying to bend this prong back to where it's supposed to be. But now that I know what the landscaping is, I will do that this fall. I'm going to plant this elephant garlic all throughout the landscaping. Let's see if I can fix this tool. This got bent during potato harvest last year. That'll do. The reason I needed to take a break to go grab this pitchfork instead of just pull all the heads of garlic out is because a few of them, right when I first started, I pulled the stalk out, but the head stayed in the ground. So that wasn't working very well. And this one that I just pulled out, I'm talking to you because the outer papers were soft and slimy, like almost going bad, which had me very confused because it hasn't rained in about 2, probably 3 weeks, honestly. And when you harvest your garlic, that is one thing, it is ideal to harvest it when it hasn't rained for a while because you want the ground dry. So when you go to cure your garlic, the papers on the outside are going to be able to dry out really well and they'll cure really well. And so I was really confused by that. And I find a couple more that are a little bit slimy and moldy. So there was one I just dug up that I had on accident pulled the top off. So earlier I had said at the previous homestead, the garlic, the elephant garlic, in the landscape was a perennial. And I thought, I don't know if that's accurate. Can garlic actually be a perennial? So I just Googled it, and garlic can be a perennial. I was thinking maybe it's an annual that just self-seeds itself. But if you don't harvest your garlic, or if you pull the stem out and you never get the bulb or the head of the garlic and you leave it in the ground, the next year it'll start growing. Each one of those cloves in the head will each form a new head, and you can perennialize your garlic. So this is something that this was another moldy one here that I am just a little confused by. So I'm glad that I'm getting to this today. So you can perennialize your garlic, and that's something that I definitely want to do. I want to have garlic growing with really no effort at all in my landscape. I just didn't want to put it in until I knew what the landscape was going to look like. And I think it would be fun to we've got quite a few forested areas on the outside edge of the forest where there is good sun, to plant some garlic too and see if we can get just some garlic growing all over the homestead. Now, even though that is my plan, I still will grow garlic in a raised bed and grow it for an annual crop. But I do think it would be fun to try to have kind of not wild because I will have purchased the seed and planted it, but kind of get to that point where there's just garlic growing around the property, which I think would be really fun. So like I said, these garlic heads are very small compared to what I'm used to harvesting. I can link the past garlic harvest videos down below if you're interested in them. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think these heads of garlic are so much smaller this year as opposed to what they have been in the past. That is all the elephant garlic. These are all the heads. These heads are a quarter of the size of the elephant garlic that I normally get. So watering is important. We're going to start over next year. I'm still happy with this harvest, even though it is not as abundant as I would have expected. And I'm glad I got these little ones because this one's mushy. I don't know if anything in this is salvageable. So I'm glad we got out here when we did. That one's a little mushy too. I don't know if those are savable. This one's even got some mold on it. Now that I've harvested all the elephant garlic, I am going to go ahead and harvest the softneck garlic that I have planted here. All of this garlic was planted last October from garlic that I had saved the seed and planted. So how you grow garlic is you take a head of garlic, you break the cloves apart, you plant the cloves in the fall. Those cloves are going to be in the ground all winter. The cold temperatures stratify the garlic. What that means is it tells those garlic cloves to split into multiple cloves, and that then will grow in the spring and summer to create a garlic head. These are also very, very sad heads of garlic. These are half the size, if not a third of the size of what I normally get from my garlic heads, but at least that's something. I wasn't sure I was going to get any harvest of garlic this year because I didn't know where I was going to plant it, and then I decided to use these old garden beds, and I planted some seed that I had saved that I had harvested the year before. Seed garlic is just garlic that isn't bad. You put in the fall and you grow garlic from garlic. It's kind of this crazy beautiful thing. So some harvest is better than none, even though it is a little bit disappointing they're so small. But a couple things. I never fertilized these beds. I never amended these beds. I never watered these beds. So that does say something that amendments, feeding your garlic, watering your garlic are all important things. So anything that I get out of this is better than none, because I may not have even had a garden area to even plant garlic at all. And so the fact that I was able to utilize the previous owner's beds is huge. So I think what I'm going to do though this fall is I'm just going to purchase all new seed garlic. We're going to kind of start over. I'm going to plant all the garlic in the main garden where it is going to be watered, amended, and babied a little bit more than this garlic. This garlic was more fend for yourself and see what happens. Let's get this whole bed harvested now. All the garlic that I have grown for the last 3 years has been garlic that I have been able to save the seed from the year before and plant it. So I only had to purchase the seed garlic the first year. And then if you save your garlic heads and they don't go bad by October, November-ish, you can plant those garlic cloves in the ground and you can have kind of perpetual garlic harvest. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely start over this year because these heads are so small. Typically the clove of garlic you put into the ground has a correlation to how big the head final garlic will be. And these are really, really small, so I don't want to use this as seed garlic. It's perfectly good garlic to eat. It's going to be delicious, but I don't want to use this as the starting off point for my garlic for my 2024's garlic harvest. So I am going to be purchasing all new seed garlic this fall so that I can kind of start over. And I kind of want to play around with some different varieties, some different hard neck varieties versus soft neck varieties. And so it's going to be fun just to kind of start over. It's been really fun being able to save my garlic from year to year to year to plant. And ultimately that is my long-term goal. But this year, I'm just glad I have garlic that we can eat on. And then I will start over planting with new seed garlic come this fall. 23's garlic harvest. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to let these garlic heads just sit here in the sun and dry out a little bit. They are not really wet because it hasn't rained in many days, but I'm just going to let the dirt kind of dry, and then we'll come and we will properly cure this garlic. But first, I think what we're going to do is head out into the main garden and go harvest what other goodies we can find out there today. And then I'll show you how we're going to cure that garlic so we can enjoy it later. You know, I really don't need to totally cure it because I'm not going to keep any dried at all to keep for like winter storage or anything like that. I'm going to preserve all of it up because I'm not going to save any of that seed to replant in the fall because I want to start over. So we'll just see. Friend, I have not been out here in quite some time, and like 5 days, and there's some crazy things that are happening out here. Oh my goodness. This is a monumental event. The first tomatoes coming out of 2023's garden. Now, that is pretty exciting. That is officially all the cauliflower for this year, and that's enough to make dinner with. My peas took a while to start coming in because I planted them late and it got really warm, but it looks like now that it's cooled off a little bit, they are coming in full force. Oop, dropping them. Every year I plant a garden, I am convinced that nothing's going to grow and I'm going to get no harvest. I am already inundated now with fresh fruits and veggies, and I really don't need to buy any at the store at this point. This is just the beginning harvest here. At this point, unless it's something specific that I need for a specific recipe or a specific party I'm having and I want a specific ingredient or something like that. But just for Josh and I's fresh eating of veggies, we are good. We have enough stuff coming in from the garden right now. But for about the last month and a half, I've been thinking, I'm a terrible gardener. This whole garden is a failure and nothing is going to come out of the garden. Well, just give it time. Plants want to grow. Even though these might be small little broccoli heads, at least they're something and I can make a meal out of it. So I'm really grateful for anything that comes out of the garden, and stuff is starting to come out of the garden. Part of the problem was that, I put this garden in about 6 weeks later than I could have. The fall crops like the broccoli and cauliflower, the peas, lettuce, and cilantro. And so they were a little bit stressed because it got so warm, but they're doing really well. And then I did want to mention that I had talked about fertilizing these beds, and we fertilized them with the pelleted blood meal. And I got comments that was saying I need to go out there and give them some liquid fertilizer because the plants can uptake that instantly versus the pelleted stuff. It can take a month or so for it to work its way into the soil. So I did do that, and that did help quite a bit. There are some exciting things that are happening out there, but there definitely are some things that are a little concerning, and I need to go inside and do some research on it. I've noticed we're at the chickens, on my zucchinis, I'll show you that a lot of them that are producing are showing up with what is called, well, this one, I watched it for, I don't know, maybe a month, and it never grew. And so that's one of the chickens, because it's hard as a rock now. But I'm noticing that a lot of my, zucchinis are not being fully pollinated. So that's not great. So I need to go do some research on how to, other than have more flowers and things out in the garden. Because look at that, that's 6 zucchinis that I'm just tossing that, I think that's what that is, where it's not fully pollinated like that. Or is that blossom end rot? I'm not sure. Whoop. Sorry, sweetheart. Sorry, sweetheart. So nothing in a garden is a total waste, because whatever doesn't work for Josh and I, we can give to the chickens and we can turn into eggs. We got a huge basket full, an abundance. It's just not what I was hoping for when it comes to those zucchinis. So I'm a little perplexed on that, but it's the beginning. It's still early in the year, so we've got a long time before the end of the year. So hopefully we can get some zucchinis. Trying to look on the bright side. I do get discouraged sometimes. That is a little discouraging, but my basket is halfway full, and that's better than completely empty, I guess. So let's go inside and get these, what are they called? Garlics curing. I have never had that great of luck with yellow squash or yellow zucchini, and it's the first time I'm growing that white zucchini. The green zucchini that I have out there is doing a lot better in general. So what I've started doing, and I'm still waiting for the results because I just did it a few days ago, is I've started hand pollinating my zucchini and yellow squash. I've never done that before. I've never done that with anything like my pumpkins or anything like that. And I kind of went on this hand pollinating crusade over the weekend, and any time I saw flowers that were open that could be pollinated, I was doing that, and it was a lot of fun. I don't know why I've never done it in the past. It's super, super easy, and so we'll see if that helps, because I'm pretty sure that is where when it doesn't fully ripen like that, it's where the whole flower wasn't pollinated. So here I'm getting ready to cure the garlic. My plan to cure these garlic heads is to do it under this covered patio. When you think of curing potatoes, onions, garlic, it's really just the process of drying them out so that they can store longer term, so that they don't mold. So I don't plan to store these for any super long term, but I do want them to dry out just a little bit so they'll be easier to clean the dirt off. The dirt is a little bit stuck to them, and I want to be able to get all the dirt off so that when I go to peel them, I'm not going to be having a huge dirty mess. And it will be easier to get the papers off if they dry a little bit. I have found really young garlic like this, because the paper, the outer part of the garlic is still really moist. It's harder to peel. So I do want them to cure a little bit, not for long-term storage, really just for the ease of peeling when we go to process these into culinary food for us to enjoy. The only reason I'm putting the cardboard down is because I don't want my patio to get super dirty. What I'm gonna do is let that garlic sit there for, oh, I don't know, a week or two. If I was curing it for long-term storage in the pantry, I would say probably a good 2 weeks under this covered patio. You don't want to cure it in direct sunlight, but you do want it dry and you want air movement. And if I had cured this inside, I've done that before, where I cured no, I've never cured garlic inside. I've always cured it under a covered patio. But if you were going to cure this inside where there wasn't good airflow, put a box fan on it. That's what I do when I have cured my potatoes inside, is put a box fan on it. Now I have to find where I set the rest of the veggies I harvested. I went inside to grab something, so I may have brought the veggies inside. I sure hope so, because it's getting kind of warm out here. I don't want them to be, I'm looking in the kitchen, wilting in the sun. Oh, they're in the garage. When I grabbed this cardboard box, I stuck them in the garage, I believe, so that they would be in the shade. So I think what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make some dinner. I need a quick dinner, and we did not have water last week. Our well pump died on us. And I was talking to my mother-in-law because she invited us to dinner. So we didn't have to go get takeout or anything because I couldn't cook because we didn't have water. And she was talking about this enchilada dish. I'll put the name of it right here because I can't remember it right now. And it sounded so good. So I thought, you know what? I've got all the ingredients. Let's make that for dinner tonight. Plus we can use some of these veggies that we just harvested in tonight's dinner. I think what I'm gonna do is I've got to look up a recipe for this enchilada dish. I am gonna freeze dry my chamomile this year, so this needs to go into the freezer. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna keep this jar in the freezer, and as I harvest the chamomile, I'll keep putting it in this jar in the freezer. And then once I have a freeze dryer's worth of whatever it might be, I can pop this in the freeze dryer. So I think I wanna wash all these veggies so that I can just put them in the fridge and they'll be ready to go when we want to eat them. I like, if I can, to get the veggies washed as they come into the house so that it's not a barrier when I go to cook to then have to wash them as well. It's just ready to go, and I'm more likely to use them if they're washed. So for the cauliflower, I've showed you this before, but I do like to soak them in some salt water just to get any sort of bugs or anything out of them. This is some nice cold water, and I'm going to do the same thing with the broccoli. I'm taking the outer leaves off, and I will go run those to the chickens so they can enjoy those. I got that washed, or soaking. I've got that soaking, and while that's soaking, I'm going to go ahead and wash these spring peas. We have been eating these like candy. They have been so good. They're snow peas, but you can eat them just like you would eat a sugar snap pea. You can eat the outside part and the pea part. They are so delicious. The recipe we are making is called enchilada Suzanne. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. It sounds like it's a green enchilada with just a little bit of a twist. And I have all the ingredients to make it. When my mother-in-law and I were talking about it this weekend, it sounded so good. And this should come together really quickly because I already have the tomatillo salsa made. When I was looking up recipes, a lot of the recipes teach you how to make your own salsa verde. I already have it jarred up from last year, so we can go ahead and just whip this together really quickly because we don't have to make the salsa verde. And if you don't have homemade salsa verde, that's okay too, because you can buy it in the grocery store if you don't want to make it homemade, but it is really easy to make homemade, and the best thing is to make it in the summer if you can. If you don't grow your own tomatillos, no worries. You can get them at the farmer's market in the summer, and you can make your own. Really, really easy. So we're gonna get 3 cups of salsa verde into this blender. The cool thing about this recipe too is we're gonna use some of our home canned chicken, which is just a convenience item. We didn't have to make chicken in order to make this recipe. If I didn't have this on hand, a rotisserie chicken would make this recipe really easy. So we need 3 cups, so that's gonna be 1.5 pints. So we're gonna use 4 of our home canned jars today, which is awesome. I love using what I put in jars because it means my effort was worth it. Growing, harvesting, procuring from local farmers, preserving, and then using it. That's what it's all about. The next thing we're gonna add is 1 cup of sour cream. This is some homemade sour cream. It's pretty thick. I'm just gonna eyeball 1 cup here. And that's how easy it was to make the enchilada sauce. So I've never done that before where I've mixed sour cream in salsa verde. Now we're gonna take our baking dish that we're gonna cook our enchiladas in, and we're gonna put 1/3 of this sauce in the bottom here. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna heat up our corn tortillas. These are some homemade corn tortillas. I didn't make these. When I was out of town over the weekend, my friend and I stopped in this little hole-in-the-wall taqueria, and they were making homemade tortillas, and you could purchase just the homemade tortillas. And I thought, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. I'll take 10 of those, or I don't know how many I bought, but there's some in that bag. I need to heat them up so we can roll them in this enchilada. So this is working out perfect that I'm making this. I didn't even think about it when I bought the tortillas that this is what I was gonna do with it, but it's working out perfect. So the recipe says, I've never done this before, but it doesn't sound too hard to put a little bit of oil in our cast iron. This cast iron's already pretty warm because my oven is preheating. And we are gonna take a minute to warm each one of these tortillas up. Let's see how many tortillas I have here. These are pretty big. There's 10 here or so. So we're gonna warm those up. While I'm waiting for this to warm up, we can make our chicken mixture, like the filling part of the enchilada. This is gonna come together really easily. It would help if the stove was on to heat up the cast iron. Here we have our pre-cooked chicken. I'm gonna add just a little bit of our sauce in there. And then it says to season this part as well. We're gonna add some garlic powder, pepper, cumin, coriander, and some salt. Now we're gonna mix that together, and that's the filling, so really, really easy. The recipe doesn't call for it, but I think I'm gonna add some freeze-dried cilantro because I just love it. The recipe says one of the garnishes is thinly sliced onion. So I'm gonna do that while I'm watching my tortillas because I don't want these to burn. It says as thinly as you can slice them. Hot. Put that tortilla in there so it stays pliable. So for the veggie side tonight for dinner, we're gonna just have some of these green snap peas. So I'm just gonna put those out. And then we're gonna cut some of these tomatoes up to garnish our enchiladas with. And we've got our onions here. So the rest of it needs to be put away because we're not gonna go through all of that tonight for dinner. But I need to keep checking on these tortillas. I'm gonna dry off the sugar snap peas, and this will be for dinner tomorrow night, probably. I'm gonna get these garlic scapes that we didn't use today in here. And And then the rest of these onions that we're not gonna use today, these are just prepped for some other dinner. I don't know what I'm gonna be making, but something. I'll use up these onions. We don't need that many for tonight, just to garnish, it said. Into the fridge these go. And then this will be the side for dinner tonight. So I'll just set that here. And we can go ahead and rinse out our broccoli and cauliflower in here. I want to get that salt water rinsed off. These greens will go to the chickens. There's definitely some dirt and stuff at the bottom here. So now I want to get each one of these heads washed off really well. We have all of our tortillas cooked up, so now we get to roll it and turn it into our enchilada dinner. The longest part of this was warming these tortillas, and you probably could have done it in the microwave, but I thought I would take the extra step to do it the way the recipe said. It will probably impart a little bit more flavor. We've got our chicken mixture here. I'm just gonna roll them on this cutting board we cut the onions on originally. So I'm gonna take a tortilla. These are probably bigger than the standard tortillas that you would get at the grocery store. So I don't know, I hope I have enough filling. And it's just chicken inside, so there we go. Beautiful. Oh my goodness, friends, it smells, the corn on this smells so good. I think it was definitely worth the effort to brown up the tortilla. I might have to get some more chicken out. We'll see. I got a lot of questions when I made the flour tortillas why I didn't use a tortilla press to make those flour tortillas. And the reason is because flour tortillas have a lot of gluten in them, because flour, wheat, has gluten. Corn does not really have gluten. I don't know if it has traces amounts. I'm not an expert on that, but I know that it has, if it does, it's so little that it doesn't have that pull. And so when you use a tortilla press, use tortilla presses with corn tortillas because they flatten out really well. It's really hard because of the gluten. Gluten is kind of like a rubber band protein. It wants to pull things back, and that's what makes things really chewy and yummy and delicious, but it makes it hard to use a tortilla press on flour tortillas. So traditionally, you roll flour tortillas out with a rolling pin, and you press corn tortillas out with a tortilla press. And you know, this might be the right amount of filling. That's what happens when you follow the recipe. I have a hard time following recipes, and I actually followed this recipe. Wow, this smells so good. It's so simple, just a really good corn, a really good corn tortilla, some really yummy chicken. This is pasture raised chicken that I purchased. I roasted the whole chicken, so it's really good chicken. The salsa verde is all 100% homegrown. Now this tortilla, we'll roll that one last, but that one, I kind of broke it apart a little bit. Perfect. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10. Now I'm going to take the rest of our sauce and pour that over the top. It seems like a little more sauce than I need, so I think I'm going to leave the rest of that out, and that will make a really good dressing for something later this week. I already have some pre-shredded cheese. It said to use a melty cheese like mozzarella or Monterey Jack. This is mozzarella. Monterey Jack probably would be really good with this because it's got a little bit more flavor, I think, than mozzarella, but this is what I have, and the recipe did call for it, so that's what I'm using. Our oven has preheated, so we can get dinner in the oven. Now, if you saw my clock and you saw that it said that it's only 3:40 right now, we lost power today, so that is not correct. So, to be honest, I don't really know what time it is, but I know that it's a whole lot later than 3:40. What a good day. We got a bunch of food harvested. We got food washed and prepped. I want to get this in the refrigerator so it stays nice Probably tomorrow I'll cook this up. We're kind of getting in that time of year where we have been eating, even though I may have seemed a little, I'm confused by some things that are happening out there. I actually took a break for a little bit, probably an hour, and I sat and I was researching what could be my problem. I think I've still come to the conclusion that it's a nutrient deficiency in my soil, but I was trying to figure out, is it a fungal disease? Is it a bacterial disease that's stunting some of my growth? I think it's a nutrient deficiency, but anyway, I'm grateful for this harvest. We've been able to eat out of that garden a ton. We've been harvesting lettuce. As much lettuce as we want has been coming out of the garden, so we've been having big salads with chicken on the top, and that's been really good. And you can really change up the flavor with salad, because we like to eat a lot of salad this time of year, and all you have to do is change the dressing, and you can really change up the profile and the fixings too that you put on top. You know, I like, and Josh likes, lots of different toppings, and you can really change up the flavor of the salad depending on what toppings you put on. So I'm gonna get this in a bag and get this in the fridge. I'll probably end up roasting these at some point in the next couple days. And the nice thing is they're already pre-washed and ready to go when I want to use them. I'll get this towel in the wash. I'll shake out the broccoli first though. If you've been with me for any length of time, you know I go through a lot of towels when I cook. And I, a while ago, was talking about how I wanted to get a laundry hamper for my kitchen. Because normally when I cook, especially on my big cooking days, I'll just have towels stacking up high. I've already used 3 today, and I know I'll need to use 1 more wiping down the counters. And so I was looking for a laundry hamper, and I found one at Ross for $16. I'm so happy about this, because now, instead of them piling up on the counter and driving me crazy looking at them, I can just put them right in the dirty hamper. Okay, so I already collected the eggs today. Look how many eggs we got today. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Well, this must be 2 days. This is 12 eggs, and I only have 9 chickens, so I'm not getting 12 eggs a day. I'm getting about 6 eggs a day. This is my tomato that I wanted to harvest because it was starting to crack on the top, and I don't want it to go bad out there. So because it's already blushing, I'm just gonna set it on the counter here, and I'm gonna let it continue to ripen inside. These are gonna go out to the chickens. I'm gonna get the dishwasher loaded. I only got a couple dishes here. I'm gonna get the sink rinsed out. This didn't even take very many dishes to make this dinner. That was easy. A trick too, I happen to have those fresh tortillas that I bought this weekend, but if you don't have fresh tortillas, I like to keep tortillas in my freezer and they thaw really, really quickly. So if you had, say, tortillas in your freezer or fridge or pantry or wherever, I feel like tortillas are a main staple for a lot of us. You had some salsa verde on hand. If this is good, it could be kind of one of those like staple, 10-minute recipes. I don't know how it couldn't be good. Tex-Mex is Josh and I's favorite style of quick and easy dinner. I've got this that I need to put in a jar. I have some cabbage out in the garden. I almost harvested them today, but I thought that they could get a little bit bigger. This on just some cabbage, thinly sliced, would make a delicious coleslaw dressing to top tacos. See, I'm telling you, we eat a lot of taco stuff around here. Friend, I will show you what this enchilada looks like coming out of this oven. It's a creamy salsa verde enchilada, and it's gonna be a new twist to an old favorite. So I'm just so grateful you took time out of your day to spend time with me in the garden and in the kitchen. I'm really excited about that garlic. That is gonna be a lot of garlic. Even though it's not as much as I've had in the past, I still have 1 whole quart of freeze-dried garlic downstairs from last year's harvest, and I still have probably 40 of those little pucks that I made from last year's harvest as well. So I don't need as much as I've harvested in the past to get me a year's worth. So I'm just really grateful for what we got, because I know that is going to be a good amount of garlic once I break it all down and preserve it. I'm really excited to start researching what garlic I want to grow this next year. I know I'm going to grow a ton of elephant garlic. I know I want to grow some hardneck varieties because I want more garlic scapes, because it kind of maximizes your harvest. I like the garlic scapes. And the cool thing about hardneck varieties is the cloves are a lot bigger, so they are easier to peel than the softneck varieties. But I do want to grow some softneck varieties because their shelf life is a lot longer. So I will be able to work through the hardneck garlic varieties first. I'm talking about 2024. Once I harvest 2024s, I want hardneck, softneck in 2024, because I will eat fresh the hardneck varieties, and then I will eat the softneck varieties because those have a longer shelf life, but they're harder to peel. And then I'm going to turn all of the elephant garlic that I grow for 2024 into garlic powder. So I already have a plan next year. I just need to figure out which varieties I want to grow. So if you guys have any favorite garlic varieties, let me know down below. Ones that have really big garlic cloves is what I'm looking for, just because who wants to peel a ton of garlic cloves? So thank you for being here. I will show you what the enchiladas look like coming out of the garden, what the enchiladas look like coming out of the oven. Ooey gooey. We will top them with the onions. We'll have some fresh tomatoes and fresh peas for our side dish today. Nothing better than just fresh tomatoes and peas for a side dish. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.